No one heard the sound of the coins dropping into the wrong hand, because she couldn't hear anything. Dust hung in the air of the cattle yard, slow and heavy, as if the land itself was holding its breath. The rancher didn't release the money pouch right away. He held it a moment longer than necessary, feeling the exact weight of what he was doing. It wasn't the money that felt heavy. It was the girl. The drunk man grinned before closing his fingers around the pouch. A crooked, shameless smile, teeth stained, eyes empty. "She's yours now," he muttered. The girl didn't understand the words, but she understood everything. Her eyes dropped to the ground. Her shoulders tightened. She didn't cry. She never cried when he was near. She had learned long ago that silence hurt less than tears. The rancher finally looked at her. 10, maybe 11 years old. Too thin. Too still. That stillness wasn't shyness. It was fear that had been trained into her bones. The father was already walking away, the bottle knocking against his leg, disappearing into the dust and cattle without looking back. Not once. The rancher took a step toward the girl, then stopped. He had bought land, horses, guns, never a human being. She stepped back instinctively. No scream, no plea, just clenched fists, like the world might break her if she breathed too loudly. He slowly knelt to her level, careful not to seem big, careful not to seem dangerous. He took off his hat. His hands were rough, scarred, enormous compared to hers. He spoke. Then he remembered. She couldn't hear him. Silence fell between them. For the first time in years, the rancher didn't know what to do with silence. He tried to smile, pointed to his chest, then to her. He didn't know sign language. He guessed with clumsy gestures. She watched him the way prey watches something that hasn't attacked yet, but might. When he reached out his hand, she hesitated for a long moment. When she finally touched him, it was only with her fingertips. Like touching fire. They walked without words. The sun sank low, staining the dust orange and gold. Every step she took was careful, like she expected pain at any second. He noticed everything. How she flinched when someone passed nearby. How she never looked at the horizon, only the ground. When they reached the cabin, she stopped. Dark. Isolated. Simple. A perfect place to disappear. The rancher opened the door and stepped aside, giving her space. She didn't enter. She stared at the inside the way one looks at a trap. He lit a lantern. The flame flickered. He placed food on the table. Bread. Meat. Nothing special. She didn't move. He stepped back and sat far away. Lowered his eyes. Waited. Minutes passed. Finally she approached. Took a small bite, quick, like someone might steal it. She chewed without looking up. Every movement spoke of survival, not comfort. That night, she slept on the floor. He didn't sleep at all. Morning came with a different kind of quiet. Not the ranch's silence. Hers. He found her outside, touching the fence, feeling the vibrations of cattle passing by. Without realizing it, he smiled. He showed her how to milk a cow. Pointed. Demonstrated. Failed. Tried again. She copied him. Messed up. Then smiled. It was the first time she smiled. No sound came with it. That was when everything changed. Because the past doesn't stay buried. Days later, a figure watched from a distance. Bloodshot eyes. Dry hatred. The father. Sober. Angry. The rancher saw him first. He stepped in front of the girl without thinking. She sensed the shift in his body. Danger doesn't need sound to be felt. The man shouted, pointed, demanded. She understood only one thing. He was back. The rancher didn't draw his gun. He didn't need to. His stare was enough. That night, while the girl slept in a bed for the first time in her life, the rancher loaded his rifle. Not for violence. For a promise. But the real twist didn't come from the father. It came from the paper hidden inside the girl's dress. Old. Wrinkled. Marked with a burned tribal symbol in the corner. The rancher recognized it. And too late, he understood. He hadn't bought a girl. He had bought a story people were willing to kill for. And the reason she was still alive was because she couldn't hear. The wind slammed against the cabin. The lantern flickered. The rancher clenched his jaw. There was no turning back now. And the first gunshot came before sunrise. It shattered the quiet like glass. The girl bolted upright in bed, heart hammering, eyes wide. She couldn't hear the sound, but she felt it, the vibration rolling through the wooden floor, through the walls, straight into her bones. She pressed her palms to the mattress, confused, terrified. The rancher was already on his feet. Boots, jacket, rifle in hand. He moved fast but controlled, like a man who had lived too long knowing exactly when violence was coming. He crossed the room in 2 strides and crouched in front of her. She could see his mouth move. Calm words she couldn't hear. His eyes, though, his eyes told her everything. Stay. Don't move. Trust me. He pointed to the floor, then to the bed, then pressed his hand flat against his chest. She nodded. Outside, shadows moved between the barns. 3 men this time. Not just the father. The rancher stepped onto the porch, rifle steady, body relaxed in a way that meant the opposite. The morning light was pale and unforgiving, washing the land in cold gray. The drunk father stood in front, but he didn't look drunk anymore. His hands were steady, his eyes sharp. "You stole from me," he yelled. The rancher didn't answer. "You think you can just take what's mine?" Still nothing. That silence angered the man more than words ever could. "You don't even know what she is," the father spat. That sentence landed heavier than any bullet. The rancher tightened his grip. Behind him, inside the cabin, the girl crept closer to the door. She didn't understand the words, but she saw the shapes of danger, the way bodies leaned forward, the way hands hovered near weapons. The rancher raised the rifle just enough to make the message clear. "Leave." One of the men laughed. "You don't get it, old man. She ain't worth dying for." The rancher finally spoke. "She is to me." The father's face twisted. "She ain't even right. Can't hear. Can't talk." Useless. That's when the rancher took a step forward. The girl flinched, instinctively covering her ears even though it wouldn't help. The rancher's voice stayed low, deadly calm. "You say another word about her, and none of you leave." The men hesitated. Not because of the gun, because they believed him. The father spat in the dirt. "This ain't over." They backed away, slow, never turning their backs. When they were gone, the land felt wrong. Like it was waiting for something worse. Inside, the girl was shaking. The rancher knelt in front of her again. This time, he didn't try to speak. He placed a hand over his heart, then gently touched her shoulder. Safe. For now. She watched his face closely, memorizing it the way you memorize something you're afraid to lose. Later that day, he found more papers hidden in her dress. Not just one. Maps, names, dates, and one symbol repeated over and over. The same symbol burned into the paper. The same symbol he'd seen years ago, before he walked away from a life soaked in blood. It belonged to a group that didn't forgive, didn't forget. They used children like currency. Messengers no one suspected. Children who couldn't speak. Children who couldn't hear. The girl wasn't sold because she was worthless. She was sold because she was dangerous, and she didn't even know it. That night, the rancher packed supplies. Extra ammo, food, water. The girl watched, sensing the shift. Change always came before pain. She knew that much. He stopped when he noticed her fear. Slowly, carefully, he took her hands and placed them against his chest. She felt his heartbeat. Steady. Strong. Then he pointed to the horizon. And then back to her. Wherever this goes, I'm not leaving you. Her lower lip trembled. She nodded once. Outside, far in the distance, riders moved under the moonlight. The hunt had begun, and the quiet girl who couldn't hear a single gunshot was about to become the most wanted secret in the Old West. The riders reached the edge of the land by nightfall. The girl sensed it before the rancher saw it. She stopped walking, fingers tightening around his sleeve. Her eyes were fixed on the hills, wide and alert, like an animal that had learned to read danger without sound. The rancher followed her gaze. Lanterns. Moving. Slow. Controlled. Not drunk men. Not desperate ones. Professionals. He cursed under his breath and pulled her closer, guiding her toward the trees instead of the road. Horses were useless where they were going. Noise could betray them. Silence was their only weapon, and hers. They moved through brush and shadow until the ranch was nothing but a dark shape behind them. Hours later, they reached an abandoned mining shack hidden in the rocks. The rancher barred the door, checked the windows, then turned to her. He knelt again, tired now, the weight of years pressing down on him. He pulled out the papers.